Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into something pretty remarkable. How do some people achieve, well, major professional success so early? Like early to mid-20s, kind of early? We've got a stack of sources here that try to explain how they seem to jump the queue.
That's right. That's the mission today. We're looking at the core principles behind these early achievers. But let's be clear what we mean by success here. Our sources aren't just talking money or titles. They define it as intentionally building real strength, mental, emotional, and professional, like a triple threat.
And the big takeaway, the reason you listening should really tune into this now, it boils down to time.
Exactly. It's about leverage, pure and simple. Starting this path at, say, 22 instead of 32, you've basically bought yourself a decade.
A whole decade.
Yeah, 10 years to learn stuff, make mistakes, probably lots of them, try things out, change course, and all before the pressure gets, maybe overwhelmingly high.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because the starting point, the absolute essential ingredient, according to these sources, it isn't some fancy degree or a stock tip. It's internal. It starts with a shift in thinking. It's mindset.
Precisely. Yeah, self-belief is key. We all get that. But the sources go a bit deeper. They talk about this specific mental trick almost. It's the ability to see any setback, any failure, purely as a chance to learn, and to do it like instantly. What sets them apart is how they define success itself. It's not the final result.
Oh, interesting. So what is it then?
It's the effort. Disciplined effort applied in the right way. That is the success. Whether the immediate outcome is what you wanted or not, if the right effort was made, you succeeded in that moment. It reframes everything.
Okay, that makes sense. That mindset then lays the groundwork for, well, the stuff you actually do. Which brings us to our first big area, internal disciplines. Because, what happens behind the scenes matters most. Let's start with principle 1, time management and discipline.
Right. Time. Our sources consistently flag this as the single most precious resource. You can't get it back. These early achievers, they get that. They understand spending time is like spending capital. The real insight isn't just that they're good with time, it's that they are, frankly, ruthless about planning their day. And crucially, prioritizing the important stuff, often over the merely urgent stuff.
That constant battle, right? Important versus urgent.
Exactly. They understand that these huge early wins, they're really just the sum of tons of small, consistent, disciplined actions, day in, day out.
That sounds good in theory,
Yeah.
but lots of successful people say they're disciplined. Is there a concrete example of how this looks? Something structured?
Yeah, we can look at someone like Albert Einstein, well before he was globally famous. The sources highlight his early work structure. He had his regular studies, his teaching load, sure, but he carved out dedicated, protected time blocks just for experiments and deep thinking.
So it was planned, not just waiting for inspiration.
Absolutely planned, a disciplined way of managing his mental energy. It shows that structure isn't the opposite of creativity, it actually fuels it. That structure let him rapidly develop revolutionary ideas even when he was just, a patent clerk nobody knew.
Okay, so if structure is the engine, then good habits must be the fuel. That brings us to principle 2, building strong habits early. The sources really emphasize this: good habits are the bedrock. They keep you moving forward almost automatically, ahead of the curve, without burning out your willpower constantly.
And that separation from the pack happens fast. The sources point to some key habits, things like rising early, not for everyone maybe, but it secures that quiet mental space. Continuous studying is another big one, and not just your core subject, but reading widely, and just making learning new things a daily thing, non-negotiable.
And for an example of how habits create that competitive edge, an athlete seems like a perfect illustration.
Definitely. Take badminton star Sina Newall. Her incredibly rigorous morning training routine wasn't just about staying fit. It set her apart from competitors very early on. That sheer discipline was her edge. It shows that peak performance, really in any field, needs those strong, repeatable daily actions. They cut down on decision fatigue, too.
Makes sense. So get the internal stuff sorted: mindset, time, habits. Then you need to apply it outwards. That moves us to section 2, external growth. And principle 3 is continuous learning and skill development.
Right. The world changes so fast now, doesn't it? If you're not constantly learning, updating your skills, well, you're falling behind pretty quick. These early bloomers, they get that school is just the beginning. They actively commit to learning new skills, relevant skills, and reading broadly just to stay ahead of tech changes, industry shifts, you name it.
Okay, the example often used here is Mark Zuckerberg. But hang on, wasn't he also just incredibly lucky with timing and had access to funding? Are the sources really saying skills alone did it?
That's a really fair point. And the sources are clear on this. Timing, funding, yeah, those are huge accelerators, no doubt. But the foundational skill, that's the ticket to entry. It's non-negotiable. Zuckerberg could only start Facebook because he'd already put in the work to get really good at programming and systems thinking.
Ah, okay, so the skill has to be there first.
Exactly. You have to master the what before you can capitalize on the when. If you don't have the ability, the best timing in the world won't help you.
Got it. Okay, that leads logically to principle 4. Taking calculated risks. Fear stops so many people. But these sources show that successful folks don't avoid fear, they kind of manage it strategically.
That's a really critical point. We are absolutely not talking about being reckless, throwing caution to the wind. These are described as thought-out and well-planned risks. Key words there. They involve research, prep work, thinking about what could go wrong, contingency plans. The argument is, if you only ever take tiny steps, you'll likely never have that big breakthrough. Sometimes you need to make a deliberate leap.
Can you give us an example of one of those deliberate leaps?
Sure, think about Eric Yuan and Zoom, especially in the early stages, building a video platform designed for massive global scale. That needed some big calculated risks around the tech infrastructure, especially things like, latency, capacity, huge technical challenges back then. These weren't just hopeful guesses, they were strategic bets on where technology and the market were heading. Those risks, taken deliberately early on, are a huge reason Zoom became so dominant later.
Okay, makes sense. And finally, for external growth, we have Principle 5, networking and mentorship. The message here seems pretty straightforward. Don't try to figure it all out yourself.
Yeah, connection is vital, but it's about connecting with the right people, people who are already where you want to be or further along the path. Mentorship in this context is like accelerated learning. You're downloading wisdom, essentially. It lets you learn from others' experiences, their mistakes, which can shave years, maybe decades off your own learning curve. Avoid those common traps.
And for leveraging mentorship effectively, the go-to example seems to be Oprah Winfrey.
Absolutely. The sources point specifically to the guidance she got from mentors early on. That advice was apparently key in shaping her career path. She didn't just collect contacts, she really absorbed the wisdom, used it to hone her own unique approach, and navigate some really complex industries faster. So mentorship isn't passive, it's a strategic tool.
Right. Okay, Section 3 hits on something unavoidable: overcoming failures and setbacks. Principle 6 is resilience and reframing failure. Because let's face it, you will stumble. You might even fall flat on your face. The trick is not letting those failures paralyze you with fear for the next time.
And this loops right back to that mindset we started with, but makes it really practical. The sources offer this very specific instruction for dealing with a setback. It's quite counterintuitive. When something goes wrong, review it for just 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Seriously, that sounds incredibly short. Like, are you just brushing it off? How can you learn anything deep in 5 minutes?
It sounds crazy, right? But the time limit is the key. It's a discipline. It's designed to short-circuit that tendency to just wallow in the negative emotion, to get stuck. In those 5 minutes, you force yourself to answer 2 questions very specifically. 1, what did I actually learn from this? Be precise. And 2, what's the very next step I can take, even if it's tiny?
Ah, okay. So it forces immediate action, prevents paralysis.
Exactly. The goal is immediate forward momentum. It shifts the internal narrative from, oh no, I failed, to something like, okay, got some useful data there, boosted my confidence because I learned something, and I'm already moving on.
Turning a negative into a positive data point before the fear really sinks its teeth in. You see this kind of resilience in someone like James Cameron, right?
Definitely. Think about his career. Massive successes like Titanic, Avatar. But those came after earlier struggles, projects that didn't pan out, near misses in his professional life. His ability to take those hits, pull out the lessons, the data points, and just drive forward immediately. That's like the 5-minute rule in action writ large. It's why he keeps achieving at that scale.
Okay, so to really drive home this whole idea that it's not about age, it's about approach. Let's do a quick run-through of some young achievers our sources mentioned, just to show this playbook works across different fields.
Yeah, let's look at how they combine these principles. So entrepreneurs first, showing that calculated risk and skill development. You've got Mark Zuckerberg, obviously. Elon Musk, too, back with Zip2 and X.com, huge bets in his 20s. And maybe less known, Ritesh Agarwal, who scaled Oyo hotels by spotting a unique angle in the market and going for it.
And then the athletes, really embodying that discipline and habit formation to get ahead early.
Right. We mentioned Saina Newell and her intense routine. Also Olympic champ Neeraj Chopra. His journey to the top wasn't one giant leap. It was built on loads of small, consistent wins through habit.
And finally, innovators and creators, people who show that courage for continuous learning and bouncing back.
Yeah, figures like Kalpana Chawla needing incredible skill mastery and constant learning to even get into space exploration. Or even someone like Jim Carrey. He faced so much rejection early in his comedy career, just constant struggles. But that resilience, that refusal to quit, powered him through to enormous success eventually.
The pattern is pretty clear then. Success isn't tied to one specific job type. It's tied to a specific way of operating, starting with how you think and manage yourself, then how you engage with the world.
Exactly. It shows that things like effort, the right mindset, strategic learning, being willing to take smart risks, those are the common threads. Doesn't matter if you're building a tech company or training for the Olympics.
So wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for you listening? Our deep dive today laid out a kind of roadmap, synthesized from these sources, for achieving significant things early on. And the core message is, it's not some secret magic. It really comes down to deliberate choices, powerful habits, and just consistent effort, stacking these principles together.
Absolutely. And remember, these big successes often start small. They're the result of transforming those little intentional efforts over time. Every single day is genuinely a new chance to learn something, to grow, to take some kind of concrete step towards what you want. Don't wait around for someone to tell you it's okay.
And this is where it gets really practical, right? We've just laid out the entire 6-principle playbook, kind of like the cheat sheet, and shown proof it works. So the question really shifts to you now. When are you going to start? When will you try that 5-minute rule after a setback? When will you define and maybe take your first calculated risk?
Take that first step today. Start writing your own success story.